Today we're going to be reviewing the DiyPc BG01. Yes, the BG01. Now, this case is a mid-tower. It's actually pretty nice for a $40 case, or at least that's right about what I paid for it. Now, it is on sale on Newegg currently for $32.97. However, it's also got $7.99 shipping in the US. The reason I picked up this case to review next is, well, after doing the DIY Zonda O case, I wanted to check out more of the DiyPc line. Now, the DiyPc BG01, I have trouble remembering the name because it is kind of a odd name for a computer case. I'm used to cases like Roswell Thor, Blackhawk Ultra, Antec Lamboy Air, stuff like that. This case I put my main rig into. That's the third time my PC has moved cases in the last 2 months. This will be its final home until it either dies or gets replaced. Now with next week's video, we're going to be seeing that it's more than likely going to die before it gets replaced, knowing my luck. But more on that next week. So for now, let's get into the review and actually look at the case. Alright, the front panel of this case has one USB 3.0, two USB 2.0s, a microphone and headphone jack. I probably did that backwards. Oh well. Reset button, hard drive indicator, power light, power button. Now it does feature a nice blue accent light. The front panel is imitation brushed metal look, but it actually does look pretty nice for being plastic. Now if we pull the front panel off, we'll go through a couple of the modifications I had to do. Now, I don't recommend doing this, but you can. It actually opens up the possibilities a lot better. But I had to cut a tab off of here and down here that came out. I'm not entirely sure what they were for, but they were getting away with my fans. Cable management for this case is pretty good. Now I'm not sure why they put these two strips here, whatever, possibly to run these in a different area, I don't know. It would be nice if they didn't have to have this peg here and instead run the power cables for the blue accents, you know, right down the sides, and then this would enable this case to hold a 360mm radiator pretty easily, so long as you're able to manage these through this top slot here. Alright, let's put that back on very carefully. Moving over to the side panel, it's pretty basic. You got your window, but as you see here, it is raised up a little bit from the bottom. That's because this case has a power supply and hard drive hiding cage. I don't really know what you would call it. I typically call it the basement. Stepping inside the case, we see our, well, basement. Now my radiator for my water cooling is kind of extra thick. I'm not entirely sure what the size of it is, but it's the thickest radiator I've acquired yet. So, not exactly your standard option for water cooling in this case. I strongly recommend, if you are going to water cool in this case, use an all-in-one cooler. You're going to have a lot less issues. It's going to be a lot more compact. You don't have to try to jerry-rig a reservoir into here. I guess you could technically go without it, but Come on now. I did manage to fit my entire build in here, although my power supply is extremely tight in the case. Now going around to the back of the case, you've got a solid state mount point here, one down here. We have room for two 3.5-inch hard drives. We have our third solid state mounting point here. Pretty good cutout for your CPU. But I don't know if we can get a good shot of this, but we're gonna try. There is zero extra room in that case for this power supply. I actually had to bend this out to fit this in. That should have been my sign to stop, look into different power supply options, but at this point I had everything else already in. The power supply was going in. Moving on to the back, this is actually one feature I kind of like. Instead of the crappy piece that comes completely off and you gotta shove your video card in there and try to screw it down. You know, you can lay your computer on the side, put your video card in, push this down, snug it up, and put your screw in one that's already closed. Now, this fan isn't the best. I'm not sure why they gave this a slot, but I'm thinking that might be, you know, if you got a clearance issue with that fan, you can bump it up a 1/4 inch up, down, whatever. Now, the cable management locations were actually pretty well thought out with this case. You've got a small hole here, a small hole here, you've got a slot here, and a slot here. If I didn't have this reservoir in, it'd fit much better. Again, that's why I'm suggesting doing all-in-one in this case. Don't do a custom water cooling system, and if you do, use something that uses a 5 1/4 inch bay reservoir. Something that's internal. You know, then you could have hoses coming straight out the back, go right in here, come out, go into your radiator. You're going to probably have to do a hard line or something like that, but it'd be a much better option than the cheapest option that I could possibly have gone with. Finally, we come to the underside of the case. Now, there was a dust filter here. I took it off just because it's pretty restrictive, and as much stuff as I already have packed in this case, I want as much airflow as I can get. I already have a massive restriction on airflow up here because I'm not using what I should be for this case. Alright, so overall, the DiyPc BG01 is a pretty good case. It's got a lot of features that more premium cases would have, and honestly, I think I'd recommend it to just about anyone. Now, next week we're going to be going into the water cooling setup that's in my PC, and, well, why it's just a little sketchier than most. Thank you guys for watching, and have a great day.